Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today, we're going to be continuing along with our recap series, talking about the national champion Michigan Wolverines. As always, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe to the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. We just gave away a signed Team Tebow jersey. We're going to bring another signed Heisman jersey later at 2,000 subscribers. So continue to help us build towards that milestone. Continue to join our community and talk college football with us on a daily basis. Dad, how do you feel about Michigan, your rival Michigan, winning the national championship?
No, hey, kudos to them. I think there's a lot to be said about how this Michigan team was built. The fact that a lot of these players stuck together. This team is not a semblance of a bunch of five-star players. This was all development. Jim Harbaugh understanding the type of team he wanted to build and recruiting to that type of team. This team was tough in the trenches, a big-time run team. J.J. McCarthy, probably one of their better players, was under 3,000 yards passing, only had 22 touchdowns. And this is a national championship team. They literally turned college football on its axis as we kind of pivoted towards a more pass-heavy offense. This was a team that said, we're going to win in the trenches. We're not going to throw the ball over the yard. We're going to pound the ball through the middle. Blake Corum went over 1,200 yards. Donovan Edwards at about 500 yards. And that was the nature of their game. They're going to play tough defense, which I think they finished either 1 or 2 in total defense in college football. So they're going to play tough defense, make it hard for you to move the ball on them, and then limit mistakes. J.J. McCarthy only threw 4 interceptions the entire year. They just didn't turn the ball over. This wasn't exciting. This wasn't fancy. This was tough-nosed football. And at the end of the day, beyond all the other stuff, there is no controversy. This is the way that you're going to beat those top air-it-out teams. Michigan, athlete for athlete, is probably not going to match up. They're not going to match up with an Ohio State. But where they can match up is get tough in the trenches and play bully ball. Roman Wilson, their top receiver, was under 800 yards receiving. So again, they're not going to match up and say, hey, we're going to put 5 receivers out there and dare you to stick us. No, what we're going to do is we're going to get in big sets and we're going to put 5 guys, 6 guys, 7 guys on our line and we're going to push you around. And 3 yards is going to turn into 5 yards. 5 yards is going to turn into 7 yards. And then by the end of the game, we're breaking long ones. Kudos to him. Like, obviously, big Ohio State fan, so I'm not a Michigan fan at all. But all credit due. All credit due. They deserved it. They earned it. There's nothing really you could say. Hopefully, there are teams that followed this model. The bigger part is there wasn't a bunch of transfer portal players on this team. Not to say they had none, but that core was that core. And they stuck around for a while, and they played together. And obviously, it ended with a national championship.
So, before I kind of give my thoughts on the entire team, I kind of want to piggyback on what you just said. Michigan just won a national championship without having, one of the top transfer portal classes. So my hope is that another team next year wins a national championship that doesn't, pull from the portal constantly. No, I'm not talking about Clemson. Not talking. Okay. Oh, well, obviously Ohio State, that's all you guys did in the offseason. Obviously my team doesn't go in the portal, but I'm not saying it doesn't be Clemson, but I don't want the notion to be you have to go in the portal to win, because then I think it's going to mess up college football. Obviously, the portal has gotten really crazy over the last week or two, or beginning of this offseason. So I'm not mad that Michigan won the national championship. Obviously, they're not my rival; they're your rival, so you don't like it. But I think when you look at Michigan, I've been on record saying that they were the most complete team all year long, as well as in the offseason. I just thought they were bringing back so much. I think defense wins championships, and we saw that this year. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the last time a national championship team had a bad defense. I can't really think of.
I think that LSU team's defense wasn't great. I don't think they were bad. I don't think they were great. I think beyond that, pretty good defensive teams.
Yeah, so I think this team was really good top to bottom. Like you said, they don't have the stars on the outside, but obviously Blake Corum was a generational type running back. Probably, like we said in the live show that we did yesterday, probably one of the more underappreciated running backs in college football, at least in my era. When you have, 2 straight years of 27 touchdowns this year. Last year, he had 18 touchdowns, and you go over 1,000 yards both times around, and you don't get really any Heisman love. And we saw that the Michigan offense was predicated in the run game, and J.J. McCarthy was getting more Heisman kind of publicity than Blake Corum was. And I don't really agree with that because even when you looked in the semifinal and the national championship game, Blake Corum carried them. Outside of Donovan Edwards running those 2 long touchdown runs, Blake
Yeah.
Corum was still the guy.
Yes.
So I think he should have got a little bit more love nationally as far as awards and stuff like that, which I'm not really a fan of as far as him getting swept under the rug. But I think overall, very successful season. Obviously, you get on the top of college football, you win it all. We don't know what the future is for Michigan as far as coaching, as far as what this team is going to look like next year. They're losing a lot to the draft. Going to be one of those teams that have to kind of retool, reload, rebuild. Obviously, if they lose a Jim Harbaugh, I don't really know where this puts them because
Yeah.
who is the successor for him at Michigan? I
Well,
don't even think they've named any names. If
what
he
I
were to leave,
assume is their O-line coach, the guy who stepped in the games that Jim Harbaugh was suspended. It
Sharon
literally,
Moore.
if you, I think he'd probably be the person.
Yeah.
Not that I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the 12-team playoff because I think teams like this, where there's a lot of question marks surrounding them, I think they can still make it, but there's still question marks. Because, I mean, we talked about the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Penn States, who are bringing back nearly everything. And if they're not bringing back everything, they're replacing that through the portal. So excited to see how Michigan does. Obviously, on a 3-game win streak against Ohio State. They go to Ohio State next year. Going to be a
Yes.
really good game, obviously. Ohio State is looking like the national championship favorite, if not number
Sure.
one, number two, with what they're bringing in. So that should be a really big game. Obviously, we previewed that game last year. But I think overall, great season. Michigan fans should be ecstatic. I know we have 1 or 2 of you guys here on the channel that comments every here and then. So let us know, again, if you're new to the channel, let us know what you guys think of the Michigan, season. How does this national championship team stack up against the previous 9 in the college football playoff era? And then also, what is your expectations for Michigan going forward? Do you guys think that Michigan's going to be able to compete again at a high level in the 12-team playoff? Is there going to be a step back? Dad, do you think they're going to be able to compete, or do you think they're going to see a natural kind of regression?
This is kind of tough because they are losing a lot. They're losing Corum, you mentioned. They're losing JJ. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. I know they got Alex Orji, a athletic freak, but we haven't seen him have to play meaningful football. They also got Jaden Dingle, who's a redshirt sophomore. But again, we haven't seen either one of those guys really have to play meaningful football. They are bringing back Donovan Edwards, and I'm assuming he's going to take more of that bell cow role. But they're also losing their top 2 receivers, Roman Wilson, who I mentioned, Cornelius Johnson as well. They are bringing back their tight end. Like I said, there's a lot of turnover on this team. Really what this is going to be about is depth. Loveland is a great receiver, and I assume a receiving tight end, and I assume he's going to kind of be the number 1 option for that pass game. But they have that team was so built for this past season that there has to be a level of concern with all that they lost. They lost a bunch of players on the offensive line. While that defense wasn't big names, this wasn't an Aiden Hutchinson type defense, a Brandon Graham type defense. That was a team that played together. They were a collection of great guys all playing together. But none of them super big names. I think the biggest name on their defense was probably Will Johnson. And I think he'll be back, but no big, like I said, no big Aiden Hutchinson type name. So when you mention all of the turnover, when there's some uncertainty with the coaching situation, and what we know right now is Jim Harbaugh has interviewed for the Chargers, has interviewed for the Falcons, I think twice. So it looks like he's going to the NFL. There's so much uncertainty. Michigan has not been a team that has really got into the portal and grabbed a bunch of players. Normally it's a player or two. So I don't think this is going to be a quick reload from the portal. What I don't know is maybe some of these players that just didn't play last year or the year before are really good. They just were behind really good players as well. Maybe Donovan Edwards goes off now that he's getting Blake Corum's carries. So we'll see. Right now, off the top of my head, just based off of what we know today, I suspect they're going to take a little bit of a dip. But there's still a lot to be determined before we get to the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I do think they're going to take a natural kind of state of regression as well, just because of how much they're losing.
Yes.
And it also is to be said that in the last 4 recruiting cycles, they've only had one top 10 cycle. The rest
Yeah.
have been all outside of the top 15. So I think that's going to be telling. And not to say that's bad. Top 15 is still elite.
Well, what I'll also say is Michigan's never been. I mean, they won a national championship without a bunch of top 10 recruiting classes.
Well, but I mean, with not having that, I think if you lose a guy like Harbaugh, you're going to lose. People are going to transfer out. People are going to decommit. So I think that's more so what I'm kind of looking at is you already. It's not like a situation like Alabama where you lose Saban, you lose a bunch of guys, but you still have had the number 1 or number 2 recruiting classes for the last decade. So I think it hurts more with a team who hasn't been in the top 3 or 4. And then you lose a national championship coach, you lose your quarterback, you lose your running back, you lose your number 1 wide receiver, you lose linemen. So I think that's going to hurt because I think even more people are going to hit the portal and dip out once the coach leaves.
And that's why I said there's so much that we don't know about what this team is going to look like. As we get into late August, early September, and we get ready for week 1.
Yeah, I'm very excited though. Again, 12 teams playoffs is going to be amazing. Yep. Again, if you guys haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join the community. We talk college football every single day. We post videos every day, and we go live Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern. So please come check us out during that time as well so you can talk ball with us. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's recap. Peace out.